One. Champion now. Champion forever.
Get another one of these this year.
My year, man. Draft day. Let's get it.
Y'all ready to get fucked?
I'm the guy with the 48th pick as his first pick. It's gonna hurt this year.
It's my year.
Garrett Wilson better not fuck me over this year.
Fuck your mother.
Beginner's luck for me.
Well done, Andrew. Terrible pick.
What is going on, Best Night Ever League? This is Andrew coming at you with a recap. We are going to recap week 5. It was a pretty crazy week, a lot of high-scoring teams. We'll kind of do a deep dive here. First matchup, we're looking at Thomas and Jacob. I will never forgive Jacob for not starting Kirk Cousins on primetime. I think that is just a crime in itself, and I think he deserved this loss right here. Sorry, Jacob. How do you not bench primetime Kirk, man? I don't know what you were doing. And the guy you replaced him with only got you 2 points. So, yeah, that was a little rough start. Your running back's doing okay, both getting us some yardage, and one of them got just 7 carries and 2 touchdowns right there. Justin Jefferson getting you 12. Your wide receivers didn't help you out at all, and that's pretty good for a tight end considering tight end's value this year. Fairbairn being awesome this year, got you 16. Your defense got you -2. But T-Bay coming up with the win this week. Joe Flacco taking over for injured A-Rich there, getting 28 points. Derek Carr getting hurt. That was kind of rough. Hopefully he's all right. Breece Hall just hasn't been Breece Hall this year at all. It's been pretty crazy, like his stat line. You know, at the start of the year, it was looking like he was going to be good, getting those 8 targets. But yeah, not getting the yards at all. What's going on with the Jets? They just fired their coach. I mean, I don't know what to think of Breece Hall moving forward. And then Devon Achane getting hurt immediately in that Patriots game. That wasn't too good. He actually popped off for a pretty long run on that injury, so that was rough. DJ Moore finally being the DJ Moore that we all know. Bears are actually starting to score more, so 28 points. Can't complain about that. Marvin Harrison hasn't been getting the volume that we thought he would be getting. Kyler's just it's kind of hit or miss. I mean, games will give you targets, but then he'll just drop them to 7. Some games you'll have 11, and then he hasn't had a game over 6 receptions, but it's just kind of insane. We'll see. Likely getting the touchdown twice. Debo hasn't been Debo all year. Who knows what's going on with the Niners? It seems like they're missing a big piece of their offense, and it is not Jordan Mason. Anyway, your kicker and your defense getting you 26 points combined. So T-Bay comes out with a win. T-Bay scoring 123. You like to see that. I think the league average right now, I want to say, is about 120 or just under 119, which I'll get to later in a separate part of the video. But right now we're just going through the matchups. Our next matchup, Bobby versus Oscar. Bobby got the commanding victory by 41. Bobby getting 150. I mean, as a fantasy owner, you love when your team scores 150. It means you're in a really good spot. You scored 150, and your quarterbacks combined for 30. I mean, it's okay. I mean, that's probably Josh Allen's worst game of the year, other than the Ravens game. Bills are kind of in a funk, but I think he'll have some favorable matchups down the stretch. Dak Prescott getting you a lot of yardage, but having 2 picks and a fumble loss, it's just not what you want out of your quarterbacks. Zach Moss, that guy killed me in week 3. Anyway, he got you 6.7. And Kareem freaking Hunt, geez, 27 carries. They trust him more than they trust Pacheco. Kind of shocking, but that was a nice little waiver wire ad there. I went for the white guy thinking he would get the touches, but Andy Reid decided to bench him after 1 fumble, and they went with a veteran there. Your wide receivers actually ended up popping off this week. Drake London having a massive game on Thursday night, getting you 30. Brandon Ayuk getting you 21. They finally gave him the volume that we were expecting out of Ayuk. Didn't find the end zone, but got 147 yards. Travis Kelce getting you 70 yards and 9 catches. That's awesome. And then you had to start Worthy this week because of A.J. Brown's injury and a couple buys. And your kicker and Dallas defense combining for 19. So, yeah, Bobby getting 51, that's huge. Giving Oscar his first loss of the year. Oscar's team kind of underwhelmed this week. Justin Fields, who has had a surprising good year, only getting you 16, and Aaron Rodgers throwing 3 picks. You hardly ever see that happen. He was also in London, so I would just chalk that up as just a bad week. Hopefully they trade for Devontae Adams and stuff's moving up for you moving forward. Your running backs only getting you 18 combined, not looking good. Kamara normally has a better game, but going up against that Chiefs defense was kind of tough. CeeDee Lamb, again, what is up with the Cowboys? Dak has, what did Dak have? 352 yards, and CeeDee Lamb only has 62 yards. That's insane. They're just really not getting the ball. Christian Kirk, they're old reliable, getting you 4 catches for 88 yards. Kyle Pitts getting you 88 yards. Finally, the Falcons are utilizing Kyle Pitts. That's nice to see, finally. And Smith and Jigba getting you a touchdown. And then your kicker and your defense combined for 24, which is really nice. So Bobby takes the victory over Oscar. Bobby goes to 3-2, and Oscar falls to 4-1. We'll move on to our next matchup. We have Michael versus Gregor. Michael's quarterbacks didn't help him out, both combining for about 21 points. Jordan Mason having his worst game of the year. Got a lot of yards, but then he had that fumble, which cost the Niners. Hopefully they remember that when moving forward when CMC gets healthy. Josh Jacobs, your first week after he was acquired, got you a touchdown. I think that's hilarious. He was on Cam's team for 4 weeks, didn't score, and then the week Michael gets him, he scores a touchdown. I think that's hilarious. Jalen Reed getting 78 yards. That's decent. Didn't find the end zone. Tyreek Hill without Tua, Tyreek Hill's value is just diminished, getting you 10 points. Brock Bowers had that crazy catch for a touchdown. That was nice to see. Amari Cooper had a meh game. Browns offense isn't really anything to fret about, and then your kicker and your defense coming for 18. But Gregor gets the victory here, scoring 127. Baker Mayfield balled out. Even though the yardage wasn't there, he found his receivers in the end zone, getting you 23 there. Brock Purdy having a non-Brock Purdy type game. Only 244 yards and 1 touchdown and 2 picks. One of the picks was tipped, which is a bummer. I think the other pick was as well. Anyway, Bijan, oh man, Bijan, what? This is if he continues to happen like this is going to cause controversy because at this point, the trade would have worked out better for Gregor if he would have traded away Bijan for Jahmyr Gibbs. I know in the long run that's not the case, but man, if he doesn't start producing soon, Michael is going to have a field day. So we'll see what happens there. Only getting you 9 points. Same with ETN. Tank Bigsby has been having the bigger runs, so who knows who's the Jacksonville running back moving forward. Mike Evans, old reliable, found the end zone twice. Chris Godwin had a decent game. Didn't find the end zone, though. George Kittle finding the end zone, got you 16. Diggs getting you 11. Hill really skyrocket, especially after the Nico Collins injury. And your kicker and your defense combined for 17. So Gregor gets the victory here. He goes to 4-1. Michael falls to 2-3. It's crazy. Our 2 newcomers are both 4-1. You do love to see that out of the expansion, but also at the same time as a manager, that kind of stinks because you've been at this for so long and they're just making it look easy. Our second to last matchup is actually the highest scoring matchup, I believe, or second highest scoring. Cam overtakes Zach here. Cam has put up some really decent performances here in the past couple weeks. Joe Burrow getting to 35. He has really come into these last 2 weeks. I think he started off the year kind of rough. But then, 28 week 3 and then 35 now. He is just balling. Almost 400 yards, 5 touchdowns. What a crazy week for him. And then Jaden Daniels might be the pick of the first round. He's been balling out this year, being QB2. And even he had a touchdown. He had a lot of rush yards. But that's a down game for Jaden Daniels. It was still amazing. Your running backs. You traded away Josh Jacobs, so you went with the Kenneth Walker, Chase Brown combo. They combined for both about 25, 26 points there. Nico Collins, although he got that touchdown, did get injured. He would have gone for a crazy game, but unfortunately that happened. They still got the win, but we'll see what happens to Nico Collins moving forward. Jamar Chase going crazy, man. After, again, the Bengals' slow start, the offense is just booming. 9-5 and then 29.8, 16, and 39.3. That is wild. So good for Jamar Chase. Oh, just 6 out of that. Did not mean to. Let's go to back to week 5. Yeah, Nico Collins and Jamar Chase both combining for about 45 points. You love that out of your wide receivers. Don Kincaid not having Don Kincaid numbers, getting 4, and then Deontay Johnson got 4 after 2 big performances. You switched your kicker, got you 0. I thought that was interesting, but your defense made up for it, getting 19. So Cam pops off with 162 points. Zach having one of his best weeks of the season, I think. Ended up still getting the loss. Hey, I feel for you. You still have one more win than I do. Kyler Murray getting you 23 points for those rush yards. Gardner Minshew not having the best game. It's just rough. That Raiders are pretty much tanking at this point. Out they want to trade Devontae. Your running backs actually surprisingly decent, combining for about 30 points. Chuba Hubbard had that 40-yard rush, and then Trey Sermon found the end zone as well with 6 receptions. So hey, way to capitalize and getting a handcuff of Jonathan Taylor. Garrett Wilson finally got the targets. Geez, 23 targets is absolutely crazy. I didn't think it was that many. He got 13 catches for 23 targets. Oh my gosh. They pretty much just force-fed him. But Garrett Wilson finally had a Garrett Wilson game that we all expected. 25 there. Zay Flowers getting you 111 yards. Lamar was throwing it to him pretty well. Both of those getting you a nice 43, 42 points there. Your tight end McBride only getting you 8, but what are you going to ask more out of a tight end? Jalen Waddle getting you 6. Again, Dolphins offense without Tua is just really questionable. Koo getting you 15, and your defense getting you 5. Sadly you fall to Cam, but that's a decent week for Zach there. And then for our final matchup is myself and Connor. Connor scored his highest of the season, 173. His team balled out. His quarterbacks combining for 57, 58 points. You know, Geno Smith, although only having 1 touchdown, had 72 rush yards. I would have loved to have seen that Geno last year. But now that he's on Connor's team, of course, he's doing good. And then Lamar, again, only having 55 yards. So I guess I have to shut my mouth about the running back accusation because, man, 4 passing touchdowns, 348 passing yards. Hey, maybe he can throw the ball. And then his running backs. I saw a stat where Williams has scored a touchdown in his last 8 games. It's a pretty crazy streak. He's getting you 17 there. Derrick Henry actually, if he didn't have that long run in overtime, wouldn't have done good, but that long run gave him 16 points. Pittman ended up getting hurt, I think, a little bit early on, but he still scored. And then what a waiver wire ad here. You picked up the Green Bay tight end, Kraft, who got 2 really big catches and 2 touchdowns. That's pretty huge. That's probably the highest scoring tight end this season. James Cook, he found the end zone, got 20 carries. You can't ask anything more out of a running back. And then your kicker and your defense come out for 28. Massive week for Connor. I think it's I don't know what Cam or Michael scored last week, but I think that's up there with the highest score. I only scored 120 this week. Surprisingly, these quarterbacks combined for 45 points, which is unheard of. Danny Dimes is looking decent, and that was Trevor Lawrence's best game of the year. Who knows what that'll do moving forward. Javonte Williams got 61 yards, but 50 receiving yards and 5 catches, getting you 13. Can't really ask for much there. DeAndre Swift is finally found himself after getting trashed on the first 3 weeks. I think it's hilarious that he was so bad, 5.65, and then the week I bench him, he gets 26, and then now he's starting to look like an actual running back. I think that's hilarious. Rome Odunze didn't do much, 40 yards, only got 6 points. DK Metcalf again. Who knows what happened to that Seattle offense against the Giants? That was just a surprising game in itself. And he fumbled, 4.5. You don't like to see that. Ferguson got 10. You can't ask more out of a tight end. And Juwan Jennings, now that Debo and Kittle are back, is just not going to see the volume he got in that crazy week 4, or crazy week 3 stat line he had. And then my kicker and my defense combined for 20. So I scored 120. Connor gets 73 with a massive 50-point victory. And that is week 3. I'll kind of do a little deep dive into the week 6 matchups here. Again, this is a year of points for, so matchups really don't matter. But I do find it interesting about just like the average points in general. Because, you see teams like myself, we're fighting to get over 100 points a week for our projected. And then sometimes it might just barely break that threshold. But then teams like Connor, Cam, and who else here? Okay, well, some teams don't have defenses locked in. But anyway, those teams are just always over like 120, 115. So just something to know about moving forward. They definitely have correlation, but I guess we'll see. So I played Gregor. Again, matchups don't matter, but in terms of game-wise, there's some pretty juicy matchups here. Brock Purdy's at Seattle. That's going to be crazy. Baker Mayfield's at New Orleans. So both of his quarterbacks are playing away. Bijan is against Carolina. He should feast, but we'll see then. If DeAndre Swift can feast, then Bijan should get at least 30 points there. Etienne's at Chicago. That's going to be a tough matchup. Starting both Bucks wide receivers has been working out good for Gregor, but we'll see how that will move moving forward, especially playing a team like the Saints, who Derek Carr just got hurt, so we'll see how much offense time they get. Diggs might be able to step up in his role. with the new Nico injury, and Kittle's been unreliable this year. So we'll see what happens there. My quarterbacks, Jared Goff's at Dallas. We'll see how that goes. Danny Dimes is versus the Bengals. People have been torching the Bengals. We'll see how that goes. DeAndre Swift against Jacksonville. Yeah. Pretty simple matchups. I mean, nothing to really fret about here. It's just score more points and be better than the other person. That's essentially how it is. Next we have Cam and Oscar. I'm going to project these ones, not my own. Okay. Okay, sorry, yeah, my mic got cut off there. Anyway, just kind of going through these week 6 matchups. Justin Fields at the Raiders could be pretty juicy. Joe Burrow at the Giants, like I said, that one could be tough. Kenneth Walker versus San Fran, not the greatest matchup. I like Kamara versus Tampa Bay. I like CD against Detroit. That could be CD's pop-off game. Jamar Chase at New York, that could be interesting. McLaurin at Baltimore, who knows? Baltimore did just let the Bengals score a whole lot of points against them. Once Cam gets a kicker, we'll see. I think Cam will win this one, especially if Neighbors comes back. Let's go on to Bobby and Zach. Let's see here. Yikes, Deshaun Watson against Philly. Who knows? With Deshaun Watson, I like Jordan Love against Arizona. Anthony Richardson at Tennessee is interesting if he plays. I think he's healthy enough to come back. Herbert at Denver will be tough. Breece Hall against Buffalo, interesting. Mason at Seattle. DJ Moore, I like that matchup at Jacksonville. Marvin Harrison at Green Bay could be interesting. Bowers, Jahmyr Gibbs at Dallas could be juicy as well. I'll say T-Bay has this edge here, just because it could go either way. And then we go to our penultimate one. I think I skipped one, but anyway, I'll go to Connor and Jacob. Jalen Hurts playing Cleveland. That'll be interesting. The Browns do have a good defense, but they haven't been too great. They did just give up 30-plus to the Commanders. Speaking of the Commanders, that's who the Baltimore Ravens are playing, so that could be interesting. Lamar did just put up 35. You have Patrick Mahomes on a bye, isn't great. Justin Jefferson on a bye, yikes. Yeah, I think Connor has this just straight on buys alone. Not a good week of buys for Jacob. And then what matchup did I miss? I talked about mine. Talked about that one. I guess that's it. So that's it for your week 6 projections. And now I'm going to go to this little graph I made. So pretty much I just got everybody's points forced through the weeks 1 through 5. And just so everybody looks at them, I have the scoring average off to the right, and then I have total points off to the right. And then I have this graph down there that I wanted to kind of go through. So if you look at the green and the orange, the green means if that was the week 12, you would have been in the winner's bracket. And the orange means that you would have been safe. And then if you don't have any color with you, you would have ended up in the loser's bracket. Again, we're barely halfway through the season. A lot can happen. But I do see a trend kind of going here, and there should be teams that should have the worry buttons on. As you can see here, we have 2 teams that were in top 4 in 4 of the 5 weeks, and that is Joe Active, Two-Headed Lion. And those are the only 2 teams. So Cam and Michael are the only 2 teams that have 4 of the top 4 high scores of weeks 1 through 5. And then there's kind of a mixture of teams that have 2 high scores to 2 safe scores. And then there's, like Oscar has 3 scores that would have made him go into the playoff bracket. Because I don't know if you guys pay, just kind of a recap of Connor's video. During week 12 does not matter your matchup. It's just points forced. So you need to have top 4 points forced to make the playoffs. You need to have, points forced 5 through 6 out of 10 to be safe, and then the rest of the people go into the loser's bracket. But I don't know, it's just kind of fun to look at. Like, for example, myself and Thomas's team, we haven't had 1 week where we were top 4 high scoring, and we've only had 2 weeks where we would have been safe. So if that's any correlation or maybe a trend line, who knows? Maybe we should both be in panic mode. Who knows? But I just think it's kind of interesting that Jacob has 2 scores that would have netted him in the playoffs, and then the 3 other scores would have netted him in the losers bracket. Again, anything can happen. I love World Cup years. I love, especially now that I'm 0-5, looking to go 0-6. I would love. I'm so glad this is a World Cup year. And then right here, just kind of a graph to look at everybody's trend lines for weeks scored. Again, depends. It depends on injuries are a factor. Week to week stuff's a factor, but it's just kind of cool to see how like there's a trend line going between teams, moving up closer to like halfway through the week to the end of the regular season. I find interesting just some kind of bouncers here. Who is this? I think this is Thomas. Just has a slow trend line down and then kind of spiked up this way. You see Cam right here, kind of had a lower spike, but then really peaked out up here. And then you have Connor, who's sort of peaking, kind of dropped, but again, you see that he's still in that first 4 category, and then kind of just spiked up this way. So are some teams kind of on the trend line and teams that are trending down. I don't want to name teams, but I mean, Jacob's team is just doing a fat M. Thomas will have to tell you what that is in the trading world, but this is just a straight M going up, down, up, down, up, down, and it's kind of on the downside. Not starting Kirk Cousins here, kind of dipped into this total right here. But then you see the reverse of that. I think this is Bobby, who started down and then slowly is turning up this way, where he kind of has sort of a W shape right there. Again, this graph could be completely irrelevant, but it's just kind of cool looking at graphs, seeing if there's a trend line going up. God, I've said trend line like 4 times in this video already. Anyway, yeah, so the scoring average, I think it's kind of cool to break down. Cam is averaging the most points at 151. Connor at second with 142. Michael with 135. Oscar 126. And then it goes Gregor at 120. Bobby at 119. Huck to a Zach at 115. Jacob at 114. I'm at 108. And then Thomas is at 100. There's a huge variance there. It kind of looks like the top teams are at least scoring 125 points a week. And if you can do that, you can find your spot in the winners bracket come week 12, I think. It's just you need to see your team have those good games to be confident enough. Again, this could all mean nothing in week 12. Could just be gangbusters, have like 10 injuries, have teams that don't go off. Anything can really happen. But it's just nice to see your team doing good now. And then when week 12 comes on, you're more confident in your team moving forward. Yeah, just kind of going through. Yeah, Michael and Cam having 4 weeks with a top 5 scores. If that says anything, it means they're really good managers and they did really good in the draft. Teams like myself, Thomas, and Zach, we both, even Connor. I mean, Connor's a great example. He has 3 weeks that would have been top 4 high scoring, and then he has 2 weeks where he would have been safe. So it's kind of like Connor's team can't fail at this point if this data says anything. Yeah. Anyway, kind of taking this data with a grain of salt. A lot's going to happen moving forward. Excited for week 6. Good luck to everybody, and I guess I'll see you for my next recap with Bobby later in the season. Peace.